Okay, so I just wanted to do that section real quick. Now I'm going to give it a wash to show you guys the difference. Master Cho to you! That's Master Cho. Alright, so here's the mix of Agrax Shade, Nuln Oil, and Sepia. Okay, that's what I'll use right now. And then again, I'll go back in there with a black wash after this dries. Sifu Cho. Actually, in Taekwondo, we don't use Sifu. We use Sabonim. But on Twitch, people call me Senpai. Not that I really want to be called those titles. You know, when I'm not at work, I have enough of that in a given day. Okay, so that's just to give the armor some detail so that I can see. Once it dries, I'll see more detail, and what I'll do is I'll actually go in and line in black, either with a wash or just black paint in certain areas where the light's not reflecting and hitting. Yeah, Wing Chun is Kung Fu. You're right. They call you guys use the term Sifu, so you're right on that. But I wanted to do that because I wanted to get rid of the white helmet to show you guys the difference in the flesh tones of the highlights and shadings that I added to the flesh tone. Right, versus here's the original rat skin flesh with just ogre flesh wash. Right, I pretty much accentuated the collarbone area as well as the face so that it stands out just a little bit more. Okay, so this wash here is pretty much dried, so I'm gonna go back in there with a little bit of black paint. Let's get some black paint. Now we don't really need a lot of this. Oops, sorry about that. Earthquake with the camera. You can use a black wash, obviously, on this if you want. However, I will use... Hey, Salt Chef! Welcome back. Did you actually lose power? Good thing you didn't start streaming, otherwise you would have lost power. Okay, so here's just plain black. I was using Vallejo black there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come inside here. And even that is too much. On the assembled models, Lady Brinstar, my only tip about painting hard to reach areas is to paint inside out. What that means is, like for example, I didn't even do that here, but like the cloak, you want to definitely get in on the cloak first before like the legs, because otherwise while I paint the cloak I might get paint on the leggings, and then that's going to screw up the whole paint job that I worked on so hard on, you know. So here I'm just adding a little bit of black to this underside area of these rings. And as you guys can see, what I'm doing is I'm using my pinky and my forefinger here to brace up against the models and then actually squeeze together so that I brace the model so that it doesn't shake as much. like the chest of clearly on the Space Marine when his arms are holding a bolter in front of you. Usually I do that last, in the sense of I put the bolter on last. So let me show you an example real quick. So like if I take a Marine like this, right? What I do is the bolter was bolted on last, so I leave that off, and you just have the arms, and then you can paint everything inside, and then you can put the bolter on. And you can paint the bolter off of it first, and then you can put the bolter on, right? And then that way it seems like you got all the way in there, but realistically you've painted it without the bolter there. Mongol, I'm not going to be going Gen Con. Honestly, it's just really hard for me to take time off of work and business to go to conventions. You know, not only is it the business that I have to take care of, but for the business itself, I have a competition team, and we train year-round, basically from September till June for national event, for like the U.S. Nationals in July, and then we also go to U.S. Open in January, February. I have a student going to Costa Rica in end of August. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend that one, so he's going on his own. But we go pretty much all around to compete. So it's really hard for me to take more time off to go to a convention. However, next year for 2017, since I got partnered with Twitch and I'm starting to slowly build my brand on Twitch, and I'm shifting over a little bit to combine YouTube a little bit with it as well. I'm gonna try to take a little bit of time off to go to one of the conventions next year, whether it be Gen Con or TwitchCon. I'm gonna try to see if I can go do a piece for Crystal Brush as well, because I really do think that competition brings out the best in everyone. So I want to try to see if I can enter some pieces in competition again, because it's been a long time. I think 2011 was the last time I entered into a painting competition, so that's like 5 years ago. And there's so many more techniques that I've learned since then and that other people have come up with. I want to just kind of put my stuff out there and see how it does, you know. As far as for two weapons, or two arms and a weapon, you can always attach the weapon to one arm first, and then put that on, and then put the other arm second. You're probably talking about the Dark Vengeance box set, or no? So as you guys can see, what I'm doing is adding in a little bit of black. And that really makes the model pop. A lot of people use like cork and other things to hold the model. I personally like just holding the miniature. Paint's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to rip it off. And the amount of control you can get from actually holding it, it's wonderful. No, DB doesn't have this thing. Oh, nice! Robot crash. Awesome. When you start working on it a little bit more and you have pictures you want to share, please do. Okay, so what I'm going to do also is this section right here where the silver meets the flesh, black line. You want to add a black line because you want to show a distinction between the two pieces, the two sections. You don't want that flesh tone and that armor section to blend in together. One of the biggest things I learned in painting competitions from years past is contrast. Show that line so that it separates the two sections. Okay, And then also with that, I'll probably re-emphasize a little bit of that black down here as well. And here's the highlighted section that I did earlier, right? What I'll do is I'll go back in there and just add a little touch of black into that shading. And it'll really catch your eye to see that black. Now obviously I'm just using thin down black paint, but you can actually use a wash for this as well. Technically washes are thin down paint anyway. Just using some mediums and stuff. Okay. So I want this a little bit darker. Now it seems like this armor section seems raised, like that little ring in the front, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, to make it more three-dimensionally sound looking, I'm going to add a little bit more black right on the underside of that. Okay, by adding just a touch of black on there, it really makes it look three-dimensional. It really makes it look like it's popping out of the chest. And as you guys saw earlier, it's on the model itself, it does stick out just a little bit, but not as much as it seems when we actually paint that little black line in there. Okay, so there you go. Again, all right, Yate Mesa, have fun at work. I'll catch your stream later today. Again, just by adding that little touch of black, it just pow in your face. You know, it makes it look like it stands out, you know, three-dimensionally. Then the next thing you want to do is, I know it's silver, right? But take a little bit of white, like very, very little bit of white. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just touch the sections over here. Okay, and what we're doing is we want it to look like it's gleaming. I should probably get some new white. This white's been out for a little bit. You can actually use really bright silver for this too. No problem, Conroy. You have a good one. Do I ever feel eye strain? Sometimes. Sometimes I do. When I'm painting for a really long time, especially with all the daylight lamps that I have on, because right now I have 2 open, but usually I stream with 3 or 4. Sometimes my eyes will strain from that, just because, you know, you're looking at the model for so long and it's such a small area. So you do have to know yourself, and you do have to paint in moderation. You don't want to overdo it. Okay, so I was using white, but let's say you have silver instead and you don't want to use white. We'll just use, you know, silver. Again, they don't make this color anymore, mithril silver, but you can find something similar to it. It does help with your eyes, but not doing it for a long, long time though. Yeah, personally, I've drips or Drip X. I've tried magnifying glasses and I just can't. It makes me more like dizzy. So I'm just gonna use here mithril silver. Again, I want to go up to where those highlights are. And if you want to make it look like it's chipped or like there's battle damage or something like that, just take a spot and just lightly tap. Again, lick the brush just to get a little bit more moisture into the brushes. Okay, and that's it right there. And after your chipped areas, you know, you can always go back with a little bit of black to show the underside of the chips. This is the way I did the juggernaut. Right, it is painstaking work where you're working on individual chips. However, the amount of detail you can get out of it and the way it shows is absolutely amazing. You can't replicate this with just a sponge. Sometimes what I'll do is, instead of just water, you can actually use stuff like Flow Aid. Flow Aid is great because it breaks the pigments down, or it breaks it down enough so that it'll flow off the bristles, but you have a lot of control with it because it flows off the brush very easily. Okay, so as you can see there, even the black that I put might be a little bit much. So that's why, like, I'll use sometimes brown instead of black. But there you guys go. Like, I didn't even touch the helmet yet. But you guys can see just by adding just a little touch of black really makes this section right here stand out so much more, rather than, you know, just ink washing it. And you guys notice I added the Agrax Earth Wash first to give that metal a little more of a brownish earth tone to it, right? It feels a little warmer, right? Rather than bright in your face, like it's factory new, like he came out of like the, you know, like he's a new soldier or something, right? He looks a little worn. So adding that little bit of touch of brown gives it more of a earthly feel to it, and then adding a little bit of black to it towards the bottom, or accentuating some of the certain areas, really makes the piece look top notch. It really does. You can actually spend hours on a miniature like this. If I wanted to do this as a showcase piece, I'm not going to do this to the other two pieces. I was just doing this to show you guys, right? But if I wanted to make this a showcase piece, like, I could spend probably 12 hours just from here to here, right? I could probably spend about 12 hours just on this top section, and then I could probably spend another 12 hours just on the torso, and then the legs, and then the capes, or whatever this is. So in the end, you could probably spend 70 hours, 80 hours easily on one miniature if you really want to go top tier competition level painting. But honestly, for just basic tabletop, you probably don't even have to do all the details. I was just doing this really to show you guys like the different blending, or you know, the saying that I said today, less is more. Sometimes doing the little things like that really makes it stand out more, right? Like, I really didn't touch that much paint on it with the black, and it accentuates all the detail work tremendously just by doing a little bit of extra work. Thank you, Mongo. So with that being said, you guys need to tell me what color we should paint the cape. I'm gonna paint the gloves black.